Why is my house not renting? Welcome back inside Uplift Property Management. I'm Tommy Perfect, CEO and broker here at Uplift Property Management, and we want to talk about those effective property marketing strategies that you can use for your rental property. Okay, I'm going to start off by talking about your vacancy time, and that vacancy time is the most expensive time that you have when you are a rental property owner. You're not getting any money in. Whether that's you as the owner, the property manager is usually on a percentage-based system too. Nobody's making any money when the house is sitting vacant. And actually it ends up costing you money at some of the most dangerous time for your property when it's vacant, not having somebody living there, making sure that everything's going right. So when you're looking at days on market and vacancy days, that just equals money lost, walking out the door. So we want to talk about when you're pricing your property, you want to make sure that you price your property in a competitive way. One tool that we use here at Uplift Property Management is what we call the cost of vacancy calculator. And we can kind of look at here, and I know this is usually in a spreadsheet, and I love spreadsheets more than I should, but I want to break it down for you guys a little bit here. So when we come in here, and I'm a little meteorologist now, we can look at our higher rent. You know, you can look at, okay, we're gonna have a house at $3,500. That's $117 of rent per day. And that's that cost that you're looking at. So when we look at, I think that it's probably gonna take us 60 days in this cooled off market to get that house rented. That's a long time, 2 months of marketing time. Hopefully we can shave some of those days off by pre-leasing it before the other tenant left, but you know, it's still gonna take some time to try to shoot for those high numbers of market rent. And you can see that cost of the vacancy, 60 days, 2 months, right? $7,000. When you come in and look at that, if I do get that $3,500 for rent, that's total 12-month income of $42,000. And you can see that versus when you have a lower rent, if I went to $31.95, and I like doing $31.95, it helps with price banding, it gets you in the door to more prospective tenants that are looking for a property on the marketplace. And I can get it rented if I shoot for that, you know, $300 less, right? That's a lot to an investor or a property owner. But I'm gonna get it rented in 2 weeks, in 15 days, I'm gonna get somebody in there. And that's gonna reduce that vacancy loss by a lot. And you can actually see for the 1 year from today, if it took me 60 days or 2 months, you're really only getting $35,000 of income within the next 12 months. But if I do it with that lower rent, it's actually gonna be an increased amount within that next 12 months. And then I can always look at doing, you know, some sort of rent increase if the market would bear at the turn of that lease, right? So when I come down and I see that difference, you know, that difference of trying to shoot for that higher rent is actually a negative number. I shouldn't be shooting for that. So I should be looking for that lower price because it's actually gonna get you more money this year than it would if I tried to shoot for that higher rent amount. Our strategy here at Uplift kind of takes a holistic approach at your property. We have marketable versus habitable, what that means, what's required versus what a tenant really likes or what they're looking for. Making sure you're actually having competitive pricing and what competitive pricing means for your property. And then making sure that we're being a proactive salesperson at getting this property leased up for you. All right, so marketable versus habitable. We've got what is required versus what's desired, right? And when you want to talk about things, you know, that are required, you're talking about, does the fridge work or is there a fridge? Does the stove work? Heating and air? Are there holes in the wall? Is it clean? Those things are required, right? Those are habitability standards in California that we need to make sure that we accomplish. But then what you can do to set your property apart is make sure that you have the desirable outcomes that we have. So, and you need to be able to show them, right? So tenant expectations, tenants are almost always expecting new carpet. Even though you replaced that carpet 4 years ago and you're trying to get 5 to 8 years out of that carpet, you know, tenants are expecting that new carpet, not necessarily just clean carpet. Not to say that you have to do that every time, but it does make your property more desirable, right? Fresh coat of paint on things, right? Stainless steel appliances, all of these things that come through as desirable, that curb appeal stuff is what we're looking for on marketable as opposed to habitable. And then when you go and take those pictures and you're highlighting those points, you want to make sure that those pictures are high quality, that you're not just, you know, using some random digital camera that you pulled out of your pocket from the early 2000s, right? You can use phones are awesome, but you really need to make sure that you're getting the angles correct, making sure lines are straight, and making sure that, you know, you're not taking pictures of open toilets and dirty windows and things like that. We want to talk about pricing yourself competitively. I know it's so easy to go talk to John and Susie down the street. They have the same model house as you, and they rented it out for $4,500 a year ago. And that might be true. Maybe their tenant is paying and you talk to them about that, and that's what the market rent was at that point. You need to make sure that you look at market rent today, right? You can always talk about what happened in the past, but we are definitely in a cooling market at this point in San Diego, and you need to make sure that you're pricing yourself competitively. That doesn't mean go and look at what you think is the best. Have a realistic approach at what other properties are listed on the market. Go on Zillow, go on Redfin, take a look and compare your property with an objective view, not a, oh, I know my house is so good because I just spent $3,000 painting it, right? You need to look at what is the actual offering that you have compared to others. And when you go and find those comparison properties, you go and find that price, you know, and it's not $4,500, you're seeing stuff listed at $4,200. Well, that kind of gives you that market price for what's being advertised. But again, just like in real estate, how you have the for sale price, that listing price, versus what it actually sold for at the end of the day, you're gonna have that with rentals, but it's a little bit harder to find. So I like to put myself and think of myself as a renter, and I'm gonna go and I'm gonna say, you know, I'm gonna search in Zillow, right? Because that's where we get a majority of our leads. Zillow, I'm gonna put my bedroom count in, and then I'm gonna put my max budget, and I'm gonna say my max budget is, you know, $4,200, right? If I go in and I search that, I wanna make sure that my properties fall in that margin, right? If I'm gonna price it above, it might not even show up on their computer screen, right? It won't show up on their phone. So we want to go and find that competitive price. Then I would recommend you undercut that price so that you can get your property rented faster, and you can draw from that pool of tenants that's looking for what you're offering, and you can win those tenants over from your competition. Our third point on our marketing strategy is that we are proactive marketers. We don't want to sit there and react to what's coming in, right? We want to make sure that we're moving quickly and that we're ahead of the game, that we have a process that's going to capture those leads and start communicating with them right away. No downtime. We want them to say, oh, I'm interested in your property. We want an email going back or a text or even phone calls going back almost instantly saying, yeah, here, we have this for you. Come do a viewing, schedule a showing, right? So we're gonna move quickly and be proactive on having that system set up so that it can react instantaneously to those leads coming in. You don't want anybody to get lost in the shuffle. When you are advertising and you're seeing that market traffic, we're seeing that you need to be so quick on making sure that your property is marketed accurately and competitively, and we've talked about that, marketability, competitive pricing. But then when you look at the results of what you're getting in, right? If you go on Zillow, you can scroll down on that feed and you can look at, oh, it's been on the market for 17 days and it's had 11 contacts, right? Well, you're not really gonna get much traction out there. You're gonna wanna say, oh, it's been on the market 17 days and I've had 65 contacts on this, because that's what's going to actually convert into showings and convert into applications. Here at Uplift, we kind of see that is 10 contacts usually equals about 1 application, and that's just our experience with our marketing team. So we're going to make sure that we're contacting you as a property owner and saying, hey, we have only had 8 contacts in the last week. We need to do something. We need to move quickly, lower our price so that we are competitive to our consumer, at this point, a prospective tenant, and then we will actually get those contacts in, get a qualified application, and move forward. If you aren't hitting them, you do need to lower your price. You do need to find some sort of move-in promotion. Offer $500 off the first rent. If you're doing that kind of move-in promo where you're offering money, say, I want $500 off the first month's rent if you move in by such and such date. Set your goals so that the person that's looking for your property can clearly understand how they can take advantage of the system you're promoting and the property that you're trying to get rented. Make it desirable for them, right? You know, sometimes, you know, you can do all you can on the property, you can do all you can on your contacts, you can do all you can on your marketing abilities, right? And at the end of the day, you're gonna need to make sure that that price and that financial desirability is met as well. Things to keep in mind in closing: we wanna make sure that we understand what the market is, because we can't control the market. We are in a cooled off market in San Diego, rents are lower year over year, and it is across the board. But what we can control is our marketing, and we want to make sure that our marketing is still on point and we can control the aspects that we have control over. If you have any questions on these strategies that we use at Uplift Property Management, always feel free to reach out to us by any of our channels, and we're happy to assist you in any of those endeavors.